You believe you control your phone. That belief alone is why you don't. The most powerful form of control is the one you don't notice. No force, no pressure, no demand, just quiet obedience. A screen that waits, a vibration that calls, a hand that moves before thought appears. This is not weakness, it is training. Long before phones existed, the Japanese understood this danger. They knew that anything capable of pulling attention without resistance was more lethal than any visible enemy. They did not fear weapons that attacked the body. They feared forces that fractured awareness. In 1607, on the outskirts of Kyoto, Miyamoto Musashi watched a young swordsman lose a duel he should have won. The man was strong, technically skilled, well-trained. His blade never touched his opponent, yet he collapsed in defeat. Nothing dramatic happened. No surprise attack. No mistake anyone else could see. Musashi noticed something invisible. The swordsman's attention had drifted for a fraction of a second. Just long enough, just deep enough. In that moment, command was lost. The body moved without clarity. The fight ended before it truly began. Later, Musashi spoke quietly, almost dismissively. He said the most dangerous opponent is not the one standing in front of you. It is the one that pulls your awareness away. Today, that opponent lives in your pocket. You do not wake up intending to lose hours scrolling. You do not plan to abandon focus, sabotage your energy, or delay your life. You wake up with intention, with goals, with purpose. And yet, somehow, before your mind fully forms a thought, your hand reaches for the phone. That movement is not choice. It is conditioning. You call it habit. You call it addiction. The samurai called it something more serious. They called it loss of center. A warrior without center is already defeated. Your phone addiction is not about apps. It is not about dopamine. It is not about weak discipline. Those explanations feel comforting because they keep the problem external. They allow you to believe the solution is technological. It isn't. The real issue is presence. Presence is the ability to remain fully here without escaping, without numbing, without needing stimulation to feel safe. Presence was the first thing samurai trained and the last thing they ever risked losing. This is why every modern solution keeps failing you. You block apps. You uninstall platforms. You set screen limits. For a while, it works. Then something strange happens. You feel restless, irritated, uncomfortable. Silence begins to feel heavy. Your mind starts searching for relief. And you return. Not because the phone is powerful, but because being fully present feels threatening to a nervous system trained to escape. Musashi understood this centuries ago. He taught that willpower is unreliable because it assumes a clear enemy. But distraction has no face. It doesn't attack. It waits. It erodes. It drains decision-making until obedience becomes automatic. Your phone does not overpower you. It exhausts you. Every notification costs attention. Every scroll fragments awareness. Every glance weakens your ability to remain still. By the time you tell yourself to be disciplined, your energy is already gone. This is why discipline feels heavy. Focus feels painful. Stillness feels unbearable. You are not addicted to your phone. You are addicted to leaving the present moment. The samurai never taught their students to fight distraction directly. They knew that resistance strengthens what you resist. Instead, they trained something far more uncomfortable. They trained the ability to feel an urge without obeying it. No suppression, no replacement, no escape. Just awareness. When you do not reach for your phone, something rises inside you. Boredom, anxiety, restlessness. You assume this is withdrawal. Musashi would have said this is awareness returning. A mind accustomed to stimulation panics when sensation returns. Silence feels loud. Stillness feels dangerous. The urge to escape becomes overwhelming. Most people never stay long enough to see what happens next. Samurai did. They stood inside that discomfort daily. Long periods of stillness. Walking without seeking distraction. Watching impulses rise and fall without moving. Not to become calm, but to reclaim command. Because here is the forbidden truth. That discomfort is not the enemy. It is the doorway. Musashi taught that mastery begins in the space between impulse and action, the instant before the hand moves, the breath before obedience. That moment is brief, almost invisible, but within it, control still exists. Modern neuroscience now confirms what the samurai already knew. Between stimulus and response, there is a window. Awareness lives there. Not force, not discipline. Awareness, most people miss it. Samurai trained to live inside it. Your phone addiction does not begin when you pick up the device. It begins the moment before. And if you can learn to stay present in that moment, even once, the pattern begins to crack. In the next chapter, you will learn why Musashi believed that the moment you can feel an urge without moving, you have already won. But what comes after that moment is where most people fail, and where true training begins. You do not lose control when you touch your phone. You lose it seconds earlier. That moment is so small most people never see it. A faint pull, a quiet itch, a subtle tension in the chest. The body begins to lean before the mind gives permission. By the time you notice, the screen is already on. This is the moment Musashi trained his students to live inside. He believed mastery was not about action, but about the space before action. Not the strike, but the stillness before the strike. Not the decision, but the awareness that makes decision possible. Most people think control means force. Musashi knew force comes too late. In the training halls of his time, students were not allowed to move immediately. When an impulse appeared, they were forced to stand, to feel the pull, to experience the discomfort without resolving it. No distraction, no release, no explanation. Just presence. At first, students hated it. Their bodies twitched, their minds screamed, their thoughts raced for escape. The urge to move felt unbearable. Some quit, others begged for more physical training instead. Musashi refused. He said that a man who cannot sit with an urge will never command his sword, and a man who cannot command his sword will never command his life. Your phone addiction lives in this same space. When you feel the urge to check your phone, you assume action is inevitable. You believe the urge is stronger than you. That belief turns impulse into obedience. But the urge itself is not the problem. The problem is that you collapse the space between urge and action. Musashi expanded that space until awareness could enter. He taught that the moment you notice the urge clearly, without judgment, without resistance, it begins to lose power. Not instantly, not dramatically, but measurably. This is where modern people fail. They try to replace the urge. They distract themselves. They shame themselves. They fight the feeling. All of that feeds it. Musashi taught something colder, more demanding, more effective. Do nothing. Asterisk, not scrolling, not suppressing, not replacing. Just remain. When you do this, the urge intensifies at first. This is why people believe the technique does not work. The nervous system, used to constant relief, panics when relief does not arrive. It increases the signal. This is the test. Most people break here. Samurai stayed. Musashi warned that the body will try to trick you. It will create urgency, justifications, fake emergencies. Thoughts like just this once or this is important. These are not commands. They are negotiations. If you move now, the habit strengthens. If you stay, something unexpected happens. The urge peaks and then fades. Not because it was satisfied, but because it was seen. This is a law of the mind. Anything observed without reaction begins to dissolve. The samurai did not fight impulses. They watched them die. Your phone addiction survives because you have never stayed long enough to see this. You assume urges last forever. They don't. They feel endless only when obeyed immediately. Musashi believed most men lived their entire lives without ever witnessing an urge collapse on its own. That is why they believed they were powerless. The moment you stay, even once, your identity shifts. You stop being someone who can't control himself and become someone who has seen control return. Not permanently, not perfectly, but undeniably. This is why the first victory feels small but unsettling. You don't feel triumphant. You feel quiet, grounded, slightly exposed. Presence has returned. But here is where the danger appears. Many people experience this moment and assume they are free. They are not. Musashi warned that early success creates arrogance. The student believes awareness alone is enough. He relaxes. He stops training. The habit returns stronger because awareness without structure collapses. This is where the technique deepens. Musashi did not train awareness randomly. He trained it at specific moments. Moments of weakness. Moments of fatigue. Moments of emotional instability. He taught that control must be practiced when it is hardest, not when it is convenient. Your phone addiction does not attack when you are strong. It attacks when you are tired, when you are bored, when you are anxious, when you are alone. That is where training must happen. Not all day, not constantly, but deliberately. Musashi instructed his students to choose specific impulses to resist. Not everything, just one predictable pull. One repeated weakness. They were told to observe it daily. Same time, same condition, same discomfort. Over time, the nervous system learned something revolutionary. The urge was not dangerous. Silence was not death. Stillness did not destroy them. This retrained the body, not just the mind. Modern people rely on intellectual understanding. Samurai trained the nervous system. This is why reading about discipline does nothing. Watching motivational videos changes nothing. Your body does not learn through ideas. It learns through experience. The moment you stay present through an urge without moving, your nervous system updates its map of reality. Safety returns. Control follows. But this creates a new problem. Once presence returns, something else becomes unbearable. Noise. In the next chapter, you will discover why increased awareness makes modern life feel overwhelming, and why Musashi believed most people return to distraction not because they are weak, but because they cannot tolerate clarity, and why mastering phone addiction is not about removing the phone, but about surviving what comes after silence. The moment you begin to regain control, something strange happens. Life gets louder. Not outside. Inside. Most people think phone addiction ends when the urge disappears. It doesn't. The urge weakens, but something else takes its place. Thoughts multiply. Emotions surface. Memories return. Questions you've avoided for years suddenly demand attention. This is where most people go back. Not because they failed, but because silence exposes what distraction was hiding. This is why deleting apps never works long term. You remove the noise and the mind fills the space with everything you've been avoiding: anxiety, regret, directionlessness, fatigue. You never acknowledged. Your phone was never the problem. It was the anesthesia. Centuries ago, Miyamoto Musashi warned his students about this exact stage. He said that when distraction is removed, the untrained mind turns against itself. The student believes something is wrong, when in reality something long buried is finally visible. Musashi called this stage the mirror, and most people break here. When silence arrives, you expect peace. Instead, you feel exposed, uncomfortable, restless. Thoughts begin looping. The impulse to escape returns stronger than before, not because the addiction is winning, but because clarity is threatening. Clarity demands responsibility. When distraction disappears, you can no longer pretend you don't know what needs to be done. You can no longer blame time, energy, or circumstances. The truth becomes obvious, and truth is heavy. This is why people say, "I tried reducing phone use, but it made my anxiety worse." It didn't create anxiety, it revealed it. Musashi taught that distraction is the last refuge of a fragmented mind. When it is gone, the fragments collide. The samurai did not run from this collision. They trained inside it. They understood that the mind, when denied escape, will try to overwhelm you with noise. Thoughts rush in. Emotions intensify. Old fears resurface. This is not regression. This is integration attempting to happen. But without guidance, it feels like collapse. This is where modern self-help fails you. It promises calm, clarity, and motivation. The samurai promised none of that. They promised confrontation. Musashi believed silence was a battlefield more dangerous than any duel, because on this battlefield, there is no opponent to blame. no enemy to strike, only yourself. This is why he did not teach long periods of meditation at first. He introduced silence in controlled doses, short exposures, deliberate encounters. The goal was not to become peaceful. The goal was to become unmoved. There is a difference. Peace disappears when challenged. Unmoved presence remains. Your phone addiction protected you from this stage. It absorbed the excess. It numbed the signals. When it is gone, the nervous system has to relearn how to exist without constant stimulation. This retraining feels like loss. You feel bored, but boredom is not emptiness. It is unused attention. You feel anxious, but anxiety is not danger. It is unprocessed energy. You feel restless, but restlessness is not failure. It is awareness with nowhere to go. Most people interpret these sensations as proof that something is wrong. Musashi taught that these sensations are proof that training has begun. This is why so many people relapse after early success. They confuse discomfort with damage. They return to distraction to restore familiarity. The samurai did the opposite. They stayed until the noise settled. And it always does. Not because the mind becomes quiet, but because it becomes organized. When distraction is removed long enough, thoughts begin to slow. Not all at once, not dramatically, but naturally, like sediment settling in water. This stage cannot be rushed. Musashi warned that forcing calm is another form of escape. True stillness arrives only after resistance ends. This is why replacing phone use with constant productivity also fails. You trade one distraction for another. You remain busy to avoid clarity. The samurai trained to sit in clarity without acting. They believed action taken without clarity creates chaos. Action taken after clarity creates alignment. This is the moment where phone addiction transforms into something else entirely. It stops being about control and starts becoming about direction. Because once silence settles, a question emerges. What am I avoiding? This question terrifies most people. It exposes misalignment, unlived potential, decisions postponed too long. Your phone kept this question quiet. Musashi believed most men would rather live distracted than answer it. But those who did answer it became dangerous in a different way. They stopped reacting. They stopped chasing. They began choosing. This is why presence feels heavy at first. It carries responsibility. Once you see clearly, you cannot unsee. Once you know what matters, distraction feels hollow. This is also why awareness alone is not enough. Clarity without direction creates paralysis. Musashi did not leave his students in silence forever. He guided them toward purpose. That is where control becomes stable. In the next chapter, you will learn how Musashi anchored presence into daily life so it did not collapse under pressure, and why true freedom from phone addiction requires something most people never consider. Not less technology, but a reason strong enough to make distraction irrelevant. Freedom from phone addiction does not come from control. It comes from replacement. Not replacing the phone with another habit, but replacing distraction with something heavier, something that pulls stronger than the urge to escape. This is the part most people never reach. They learn awareness, they survive silence, they even taste clarity, and then, slowly, they drift back. Not because addiction returns, but because emptiness does. Musashi understood this danger deeply. He believed that presence without purpose collapses under pressure. Awareness alone creates stillness, but stillness without direction turns into stagnation. This is why monks left monasteries. This is why warriors left temples. Silence was never meant to be permanent. It was meant to prepare you for alignment. Musashi taught that the mind seeks occupation. If you remove meaningless stimulation without offering meaningful direction, distraction will return in a new form. Your phone was never your strongest pull. It was your easiest one. Once it weakens, something else must take its place. Not entertainment. Not productivity. Purpose. Most people misunderstand purpose. They think it is a grand goal or a perfect plan. Musashi rejected this entirely. He taught that purpose is not discovered through thinking. It is forged through commitment. Commitment to a path that demands presence. When his students asked how to maintain clarity in daily life, Musashi did not tell them to meditate more or discipline themselves harder. He gave them responsibility. He assigned them work that required full attention, not glamorous work, not exciting work, necessary work, difficult work, tasks that punished distraction immediately. Sword, practice, calligraphy, farming, teaching, younger students, anything where divided attention caused failure. This is where modern life collapses. Phones allow you to be distracted without consequence. You can scroll while eating, scroll while walking, scroll while working. Nothing immediately breaks. Musashi knew this was dangerous. He believed a man must bind his attention to something that fights back. This is the anchor. Without an anchor, awareness floats. With an anchor, it roots. Your phone addiction will not end until your attention is needed elsewhere. Not wanted. Needed. This is why hobbies rarely work. They are optional. Distraction always wins against optional meaning. Musashi trained his students to take responsibility for something outside themselves, something that would suffer if they were absent. Responsibility sharpens presence. When someone depends on your clarity, distraction feels expensive. This is why parents often break addictions effortlessly while others struggle. Responsibility rearranges the nervous system. Musashi engineered this deliberately. He forced students to mentor others before they felt ready, to carry duties that demanded consistency, to become necessary. This anchored presence into daily life. Your phone addiction persists because nothing in your life collapses when you disappear. That is not an insult. It is a structural truth. When distraction carries no cost, it becomes irresistible. This is why motivation fades, why discipline breaks, why awareness slips. Purpose changes the equation. Not abstract purpose, immediate purpose, something you must show up for, whether you feel like it or not. Musashi believed that once attention is anchored, distraction loses its appeal naturally, not because it is forbidden, but because it is irrelevant. This is the stage where control becomes effortless. You stop fighting urges because they no longer matter. But here is the mistake people make. They wait to feel ready. Musashi never allowed this. He taught that readiness is created by commitment, not the other way around. If you wait until phone addiction is gone to choose purpose, it will never leave. Purpose must come first. This is uncomfortable because purpose exposes inadequacy. It forces you to confront limits. It demands growth. Distraction protects you from that. This is why the phone feels safest when you feel uncertain about your direction. The moment you bind yourself to something meaningful, distraction becomes painful. You start noticing how much it steals, how much it costs, how empty it feels. This is not discipline. This is alignment. Musashi believed alignment was the highest form of control. When actions align with purpose, resistance disappears. This is why he said mastery is not about doing more. It is about removing what does not belong. Your phone addiction will not be solved by stricter rules. It will dissolve when your life requires your attention. This does not mean becoming busy. Busyness is another form of escape. It means choosing one thing worthy of your full presence. One responsibility. One craft. One path. And committing to it without negotiation. This is where modern advice becomes vague. Musashi was precise. He told students to choose something difficult enough to demand growth, but narrow enough to allow focus. Something that improved through repetition. Something that punished distraction immediately. This is why martial training worked. Why calligraphy worked. Why teaching worked. In modern life, this could be creation, writing, building, leading, learning a craft deeply, not consuming, not scrolling. Creation anchors attention. Consumption dissolves it. This is the missing piece. You can master awareness. You can survive silence. But without creation, distraction will always find a way back. Musashi believed the man who creates becomes dangerous because his attention has direction. In the final chapter, you will see how Musashi closed the loop, how the student became the teacher, how control became identity, and why true freedom from phone addiction is not about restriction, but about becoming someone Who no longer needs escape? You don't defeat phone addiction by controlling the phone. You defeat it by becoming someone who no longer needs to escape. This is the final truth most people never reach. They remain trapped in tactics, hacks, limits, and rules. Even when they reduce usage, the craving remains. The phone is gone, but the hunger survives. Musashi believed this was the most dangerous illusion of all. He taught that addiction does not end when behavior changes. It ends when identity changes. Until then, control is temporary. In the later years of his life, Miyamoto Musashi stopped teaching techniques first. He focused on transformation. He believed that once a man's identity shifted, discipline became effortless. A warrior did not resist distraction. He outgrew it. This is the difference between quitting and transcending. Most people try to quit phone addiction while remaining the same person inside. Same fears, same confusion, same avoidance. The phone was a symptom, not the disease. Musashi attacked the disease. He taught that people escape because they are divided. Part of them wants growth. Another part wants comfort. Distraction feeds the comfort side. Purpose feeds the growth side. Whichever side you nourish wins. Your phone addiction survives because the part of you seeking comfort is still dominant, not because you are weak, because that part has never been replaced. Musashi believed the final stage of mastery was integration, the moment when attention, purpose, and identity aligned into one direction. At that point, distraction stopped being tempting, not because it was forbidden, but because it felt beneath him. This is uncomfortable to hear in a modern world that avoids hierarchy of values. But Musashi was clear. Some actions elevate you, others shrink you. Repeated daily, they define who you become. Scrolling does not make you evil. It makes you small. Creation does not make you special. It makes you solid. The samurai did not ask, "How do I avoid distraction?" They asked, "Who must I become so distraction no longer calls me?" This question changes everything. When identity shifts, behavior follows naturally. You stop asking for motivation. You stop negotiating with urges. You stop counting streaks. You act because that is who you are. Musashi believed identity was forged through repetition under pressure, doing the right thing when it is uncomfortable, showing up when it would be easier to escape. This is why he said character is built in moments no one sees. Your phone addiction thrives in private moments, late at night, early morning, in boredom, in loneliness. Those are the same moments where identity is shaped. Each time you stay present instead of escaping, you cast a vote for a new self. Not instantly, not dramatically, but permanently. This is why relapse is not failure. It is feedback. It shows where identity is not yet stable. Musashi did not punish failure. He corrected alignment. He believed the student must become the teacher eventually, not formally but internally. The moment when the student stops asking what to do and starts knowing who he is. This is the final shift. You stop trying to control phone addiction and start protecting your attention as something sacred, limited, valuable, non-renewable. Attention becomes identity. This is why true freedom feels quiet, almost boring at first. There is no battle, no drama, no constant effort, just clarity. The phone still exists, the apps still exist, but the pull is gone because the person who needed escape no longer exists in the same way. This is why Musashi warned against shortcuts. There are none. Only progression. Awareness. Silence. Purpose. Identity. Miss one, and the system collapses. This is why most advice fails. It isolates one layer and ignores the rest. Musashi built complete men, not disciplined habits. And here is the final truth, the one most people avoid. If you still crave distraction, it is not because you need less stimulation. It is because your life is asking more of you than you are giving. Distraction fills the gap between who you are and who you know you could be. Close that gap, and the addiction dissolves. Not overnight, but permanently. The samurai did not remove temptation from the world. They removed it from themselves by becoming too aligned to be pulled sideways. This Is the path Musashi walked. This is the path still open to you? The question is no longer how to control your phone. The question is whether you are willing to become someone who does not need it. Because once that happens, the screen loses its power. And silence no longer feels empty. It feels like home.